Hi guys, good evening. So welcome to today's class, right? So if you've joined the class, kindly leave a comment. You can say I'm here, right? So I know you guys are here and we can get started. Okay. Hi. Okay, so we'll just wait a couple minutes more for more people to join the class. Hi, Junior Judah. Welcome. Okay, in the next 1 minute or two, we'll just get started. Okay. All right. So we'll just get started right now. So welcome to the first class, right? Of week one. So what we'll be looking at today is introduction to UI UX design, right? So I'll just go ahead and share my screen and we'll walk through it together. So if you can actually see my screen, you can go ahead and let me know, right? You can go ahead and let me know. If you can see my screen, leave a comment. Okay. All right. So like I said, welcome to today's class, right? Sorry, give me a second. Right. This is week one of the course, and we'll be looking at introduction to UI UX design, right? So if you're excited to dive into UI UX design, go ahead and leave your favorite emoji in the comment section, right? So let's get started. So what exactly is UI UX design? Right? What exactly is UI UX design? So we keep hearing UI UX design, UI UX design. So today we're going to learn what it is exactly. Right. So if you have an idea, I would like to see it in the comments. If you have an idea what UI UX design is, you can go ahead and leave it in the comments. Let's see. Okay. So right. So what is UI UX design? So we're going to be looking at the definitions and sorry, should be it. So we're going to be looking at definitions of UI UX design, right? So UI design, which also means in full, is user interface design. So user interface design involves the visual elements of the products, like the buttons and the icons. So when you have an app or a website, the what you can see on the app or the web or whatever platform it is, right? Whether it's a desktop app or whatever, right? A mobile app. whatever you can see on the app is the user interface, right? That is the interface that you actually interact with, right? So and that's the interface you actually interact with. That's what user interface is, right? So the design of this interface is what is referred to as user interface design, right? So UX, which is user experience, right? In full, I mean, is the overall experience of a user with a product encompassing user journey and satisfaction. So when, say for example, you design an e-commerce app, right? After designing the app, um the users can see the buttons, they can see the colors, they can see the images, they can see the cart, they can see everything, right? But how do they navigate from one page to the other? How do they actually interact with this platform? How do they actually interact with this platform? That actually is what is referred to as, give me a second. That is actually what is referred to as user experience design. So how the user experience the application, how do they move from one place to the other? Are they able to actually accomplish their goal? Do they get satisfaction from using your application? Do they get angry like this app is not good enough, like they couldn't even complete a purchase on the application? So that is user experience design, how users feel using your application. So if you are following me up to now, right, leave a comment. And if you're following me up to this point, kindly leave a comment, say I'm following, so that I know that you're actually following. Okay, so we proceed, right? Um, so looking at the introduction of UI UX design, we'll be actually looking at the principles, because there are so many principles that you need to understand in order to design very good user interfaces and user experience, right? So you need to understand these principles that will guide you and help you to make you know very good design decisions when working on digital products, right? So we're going to be looking at the first principle, which is CRAP principles, right? So CRAP stands for contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. So we're looking at contrast. So contrast focuses on making elements stand out from one another to create visual interest and hierarchy. So looking at this this slide, right, you can see that um, you can actually see principles of UI UX design. The text, right, is pronounced, that you can see it, and the background is lighter, allowing it to actually show properly. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So that is contrast in action, right? So your application needs to have enough contrast so that users don't get confused when, like, so that your product, your would I say the elements on your screens are easily visible to anyone, be it to anyone, and also accessible to you, to people with eye defects and all, right? So let's say for example, I'm going to try to tweak this particular I'm going to try to alter um this particular slide, right? So let's see. So you can see that this actually has good, excuse me, this actually has good contrast. But let's say we reduce the opacity of this particular text, right? Let me take it down to 50, right? Okay, it's still a bit visible. Let me just reduce it some more. Let me just bring it down to 20. You can see that it's almost invisible. It's almost blending with the background, right? Having an application with text like this, especially when there are text that you actually want users to see, want to bring users' attention to, having it like this is going to make it difficult to be read by anybody. So that is what is meant by contrast. Having your application or your product needs to have good contrast in order for users to be able to actually utilize to use your products effectively. So right, that's first thing. Then we have repetition. Involves repeating visual elements like colors, shapes, or fonts to create a consistent, cohesive design. Right. You can notice that in most of the okay, still bringing it down to this slide. Right. I'm just assuming this is a website. I'm just assuming. We can see that most of my titles, right, I used this this gradient color of orange and pink, right? So we can see actually see that, right? And it's consistent, right? And let's use another website as an example. Um, what should we use? What should we use? What should we use? Let me say, let me just open Jumia, right? Let's just use a practical example of repetition, especially when it comes to colors and buttons, right? Okay, so while that is loading up, um, okay, so I think that's doing properly. So when you talk about alignment, right, you're talking about the arrangement of elements to create a visually pleasing and structured layout. Now, speaking of alignment, you can see that. Let's use this as an example again. You can see that from here to here, the content are all aligned to they are all aligned from the same edge, right? I didn't like excuse me, you can see that they are all aligned, and the space between the edge of this container to the content within, they are the same. And also this from the end of this container to the content that is within is still the same and consistent between the both of them, right? So looking at this section as well, we can see that the text here and like the starting point of the text here and the one here, they are actually starting at the same place, right? So that is ensuring that there is alignment within the content or the product, right? So when you are designing, you have to keep that in mind. You have to make sure that your contrast is there, is good. You have to understand repetition, right? So if you are using your primary the sorry the color of your primary button is, for example, blue, right? You have to ensure that you are consistently using blue. So if, for example, here I used Poppins as my font, as my typeface, right? So I have to ensure that I use Poppins throughout, right? But if I'm mixing two typefaces, I have to also ensure that yes, I'm using these two typefaces, and that is what I'm going to be using on my in my design. It's not when you use Poppins here, you come here and use Enter. You come here and use Roboto. Then you come to this place and you use which other one? DM Sans. Things like that. So just ensure repetition. So when we talk about proximity, it addresses the grouping of related elements to establish a clear relationship and improve organization, right? So looking at this, still we are still using this our slide as an example, right? So you can see that these two containers, because they are like containing same information or similar information, right? Let me say similar information. We are still talking about CRAB principles, right? They are both talking about CRAB principles. You can see that they are more like together compared to the distance between here and here. You can see that it's far. The distance between here and here, you can see that it is far. So these two, you can looking at them, you can know that they are related compared to these other two elements at the top here. So that is proximity in play, right? That's proximity in play. So if you're getting value up to this point, let me just give me an emoji right there, right? Just drop something and I'll so we can proceed. Okay, hi Ninola. No, you haven't missed much, right? You haven't really missed much, right? So, but if you are following up to this point, just drop me a comment, tell me you're following, give me an emoji, just do something, right? All right, great, great. Okay, so let's proceed. Let's proceed. So moving on, right? So, like I said, for the people that joined late, right, we are looking at the introduction of UI UX design, and we are going through the principles that will guide you through designing user friendly interfaces, right, and experience. So, the next principle we are going to be looking at is a very popular one, is the Gestalt principles, right? So, what exactly is Gestalt principles? So, Gestalt principles are a set of theories that describe how humans perceive and interpret visual information. These principles are fundamental to understanding how users process and organize visual elements in design. Some key Gestalt principles include proximity, similarity, closure, continuation, figure ground, symmetry, and order, and common fate. Right. So these are principle Gestalt principles, and we're going to be looking at each and every one of them, right, one after the other, and we're going to be explaining them. So while this class is going on, right, if you have any question, just drop it in the comment section and we'll actually attend to it, right? So let's proceed. So the first principle we're going to be looking at as well is the principle of common region, right? Elements that are contained within the same visual boundary. Excuse me. So it says that elements that are contained within the same visual boundary or area are perceived as, excuse me, sorry. So elements that are contained within the same visual boundary or area are perceived as or related, are perceived as related or belonging to a group. The mind groups elements based on their spatial proximity within a defined region, right? So this is very useful for keeping content together. So here is an example. So for information sake, this is more like a wireframe though, right? But we'll go into all that much later in the course. We're going to be explaining that in more detail as we progress in the course, right? So here, right, um we can see this section, right? So it says common region. Looking at this, right, you can see that these three boxes, right? Let's assume also using our e-commerce app example, right? Let's assume that these are let me say cards, right? Cards of product categories. Let me use that as an example. This could be a title for this section. So looking at this now, your mind already tells you that the elements that are in this common region, they are grouped together and they are called categories. So even if there is no text here, looking at just this box alone, your mind already tells you that these elements are actually grouped together and they are like, let me use the word siblings. I don't know if that works, but like they are like together and they perform similar actions, right? So when you see this, you can actually your mind just automatically tells you that, right? So that you can see that's also in these other screens, right? So that's basically the first um principle, right? The principle of common region. So while this class is going on, or even after now, if you are watching this video, do ensure to take notes because these principles are very, very important and they can actually help you to create very good and pleasing designs, right? So if you are able to understand them, which I believe you will, right? So, principle of proximity, right? It states that elements that are close to each other are perceived as a group. Proximity creates a sense of relatedness. Now, okay. Also looking at this, right? You can see that these two elements, right? They are a bit far from this. Looking at them, your mind already tells you that they could be related or they are related. So assuming you have two elements on your screen that are not related and you place them together like this without any clear information about how they are, you see that you're already misleading your users, right? But when you have these elements and they are close to each other, your mind already telling you that these elements are like they're a group or they are related in a way, and this one is a different thing, right? Okay, so let's say let us use a live website. Okay, like the example I gave. Let me know if you all can still see my screen right here. Okay, that's not what I meant. Okay, so yeah, looking at this now, right? You can see the principles in play. You can see common region, right? You can see that. You can see that these people are grouped together. You can even see the demarcation. So since they are grouped together, your mind is already telling you that they are similar, right? You can feel that they are categories, even though there is no title around here. Your mind is already making up something, right, about them. So that's actually that in an actual website, right? So let's just go back to our slides so that we can actually, you know, finish up on time. So we have principle of similarity. So similar elements, whether in shape, color, or size, are perceived as related or belonging to the same group. So when you have things that are similar in a platform or on a web platform or mobile app, whatever platform it is, right? When you have things that are similar, your mind is already telling you that they could be doing similar, they could be performing similar actions, right? They're performing similar actions, whether um it's the color, whether it's the shape, whether it's the size. Let's say, okay, using my example here, right? Looking at these circles, you can, excuse me. So similar elements, whether in shape, size, color, are perceived as related or belonging to the same group, right? So you can see that these elements, they are similar, right? They are all similar. So you can perceive them as belonging to the same group. Let me assume that these things are buttons, right? Let me see that these things are buttons. So when you see this, your mind is already telling you that I'm looking at a button. And when I when I click on a button, it's going to perform a similar action to what I've experienced. Or when you see a blue button, let me continue with the blue button I've been using. So when you see a blue button, right? Yeah, your mind is already telling you that this blue button is for okay, which is the color of the primary button, right? That is used in for the brand, right? So if anywhere you see the blue button, you know that okay, this is a when I click this button, I'm expecting a positive action, right? I'm expecting a positive action. But when you come onto a platform and you're seeing buttons that are grayed out, grayed out, grayed out. When I say grayed out, I mean maybe the buttons have this gray color, right? Maybe they have this gray color, and you know that they are disabled buttons. Your mind is already telling you that any button that the buttons or the elements on this page that are grayed out, it means that they are not clickable. Your mind is already telling you that because they have this similar color, they have this consistent color. So because you've experienced that, you already know that these things that I'm seeing that I'm not going to get this is the action I'm expecting from this, right? So maybe yeah. So basically that's Gestalt principle in action, yeah, right? For similarity. So let's keep going, right? So we have the similarity of sorry, principle of closure. So the mind tends to complete incomplete figures or shapes to perceive them as a whole or closed entities. So what's that? What does that mean? Okay, let's use the shape as an example, right? You can see that this you can see that this rectangle, or sorry, I say rectangle, this square, right, is actually taking up a space, right? But your mind is already completing this shape and it's telling you that this is a square, right? And your mind is already telling you that whatever is behind this place is still a circle. Your mind is already completing that um that that space, right? So this let me, how am I even going to explain this so you understand this? So these circles, they were actually cut, right? They have been cut out, right? And then your mind has already completed this cut out shape, and it's already giving you a rectangle, and your mind is telling you that there is, sorry, why do I keep saying rectangle? Your mind is already completing this gaps and is making it into a shape, right? So let's use another example. That's, I hope this network will load this thing fast. So let's look at FedEx logo. Now, if you can see this, right, you're looking at this FedEx logo. Look at this place. Looking at this, you would think that is a FedEx, like FEDEX, right? But look at this space right here. You will see an arrow, right? This is your mind completing this space and telling you, and it's telling you that there is an arrow here. But looking at this, if you look properly, you are still going to see EX at the end there. But when you look closely again, you're going to see an arrow. So this is Gestalt principle of closure in play, right? That is the same thing we have with this square right here, right? Your mind is completing the whole thing to actually create an image around it that you can understand, right? So let's proceed. Continuation, right? The eye naturally allows a path or line, and elements positioned along a line are perceived as related. So yeah, right. So let's look at this. You can see that um you have your circles going, right, going on and on and on and on, but then there is still this demarcation here. Your mind is already completing this whole thing, and it's saying, is that your mind is telling you that this circle even continues still behind, and it's like crosses behind this, and since it continues, they are related. Your mind has already painted that image. So let's bring it to real life applications. Let me see if there's something I can use as an example right here. Oh, this. Okay. So let me just say you keep scrolling, right? And you're scrolling, right? So, but as you keep scrolling, you know that there is a continuation. Let me say you are just halfway here, right? You can see that there is something blocking this place, just like we have this rectangle here. Now, this is a rectangle. So, just like we have this rectangle here, right? You can see that there is something actually blocking here, but your mind already knows that this shoe is not complete. There's still part of the shoe down, and you know that there is something still down, and you keep scrolling to review whatever is down, right? That is the principle of continuation right there working, right? Your mind is actually completing the rest of the information, and it's telling you that they are related, and you can continue scrolling and scrolling till you get to the end of the whole thing. But even though there is something right in front, right, you already know that there is a continuation behind. So that's the principle of continuation, right? So we have okay. So let me know if you are still getting value up to this point. Like if you're still getting value up to this point, let me just type value in the comments. Type value in the comments. If you are getting value up to this point, right? Just type value in the comments. And if you understand what's going on, also type value. Like if you understand what we are actually discussing right now, just type value right in the comments. So okay, so let's proceed, right? We have this oh, it's already 7:30. So we have the principle of common fate, right? Elements that move in the same direction or have a similar motion are perceived as part of a single group. So elements that move in the same direction or have a similar motion are perceived as part of a single group. Okay. So let's use another real life example. So he's just trying to tell you that when you have elements that are, let me say, a navigation bar. Okay, let me use this navigation right here as an example. Right, you can see this navigation here. They are in the same line. So you can say that they are you can see that they are related, right? You can say that they are part of a single group, right? So you can say that everything you can easily say that everything here is navigation because they are in the same line, right? They are in the same line. I don't know if you understand that, right? But that's the simplest way I can actually explain it. So So that is that you can see here, right? Assuming these are tabs on an app or something, because they are in a single, they have a similar motion, like they are moving, would I say, towards a right, right? So you can say that they are perceived as a similar, a part of a single group, just like we have here, right, at the navigation. But also, assuming this is a mobile view, even while you have on your mobile app, you can swipe. Okay, let me use this one as another example. You can see this. They're moving in the same motion, and you can perceive them as similar as elements in a similar group, right? Just looking at them and their interaction. So let's go ahead and go back to the slides and proceed. So symmetry and order. So symmetry and order. Symmetrical or mirrored objects are perceived as part of the same group or as being two halves of the same whole. I think that's explanatory though. So when you have elements that are mirrors of each other, right? You can perceive them as part of the same group or being halves of the same whole. I think that's self-explanatory to an extent. So you have figure ground. The mind differentiates an object from its background, right? There is a tendency to see objects as either the figure, which is the foreground, or the ground, which is the background. So looking at this right now, right? Even though this looking at this, for me, I can say it looks like a city, right? And I can see buildings. It's not as if it's not like they're actually buildings, right? It's not they're not really actually buildings, but because they have this figure, right? So you can your eye, let's say, yeah, let me just your eye can actually be like, give me a second. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Right, let's proceed. Okay, someone asked if you can get the slides. Yes, I will share the slides with you after this class. Right. So where was I? Okay, so I was explaining that um so I was saying that the mind differentiates an object from its background, right? There is tendency to see objects as either the figure, right, or the background. So now looking at this, your mind is already telling you that this thing that looks like building, these things that look like buildings, right, is actually the figure. And then you have a gray background. Why is your mind not telling you that this gray side is the figure and this one is the background? This is your mind at work. This is your mind at work. So this is how design works, right? So when you're designing, you have to also keep that in mind that users are going to perceive this as a figure, and they're going to perceive this as a background, right? So this is the Gestalt principle of figure ground in play right here. So I believe you understand that. Okay, so let's proceed to the next. To the next. So, and that is actually the last part of the Gestalt principles. So we are looking at heuristic principles. Today is about principles, because these principles are really like the fundamentals that you need to grasp properly, right? Then yeah, they are really it's really for the fundamental you need to grasp properly and be able to use it and understand it properly, right? When you're able to understand it properly, yeah, it will actually help you a lot. So let's look at the heuristic principles. So heuristic principles refer to so heuristic principles refer to a set of broad sorry, what am I reading? Basic principles refer to a set of broad usability guidelines that help designers create user-friendly interfaces. So these principles were introduced by Jacob Nielsen and Rolf Mullich, and are often used as framework for usability testing. Right. So that is what the heuristic principles are. Right. Okay. So basically, right, many people during I'm sorry about the background noise. There's a repair going on at my place. So yeah. So where was I? So for usability testing, right? When you're okay, sorry, not usability testing. Let me say a website audit. When you want to conduct a website audit, so you can utilize these heuristic principles to actually carry out your audit on a website, right? To actually understand the experience. Like it's basically mostly targeted around user experience, right? When you're carrying out heuristic principles. So to when you're using heuristic principles to audit a website, sorry. So let's proceed and let's check out these principles and how we should utilize them. So there are actually 10 of them. There are 10 heuristic principles. So we look at visibility of system status, right? So keep users informed about what is happening, provide feedback on system status, and keep users informed about ongoing process. So what is this trying to say? This is trying to tell you that you have to keep your users informed of whatever is going on any digital product, right, that you are designing. Let's use Jumia as another example, right? So let me say I want to add an item to cart. So anyways, let me just pick this blender, for example, this Silver Crest. And let me say I add to cart. So this notification right here, products added to cart successfully, is telling me that I have successfully added this item to cart, right? I've added this item to cart, and yeah, so that's basically it. So it's telling me that I have added this item to cart, and again, I apologize for the background noise. So, if you can, okay, so it's telling me that I've added the item to cart, right, which is a visibility of system status that shows that I've added. So let me just click another button. Let me say I add to my wish list. Okay, I'm not logged in. Sorry, I'm not logged in. So, but basically that's it, right? Let me see if I increase the items in cart. Okay, it's here again. So if I increase the items in my cart, it shows me that I've also added another item. I've also added another item to cart. Okay, hi guys. Sorry for that interruption. Like I said, there's a repair going on around here, and I just had to attend to something, but I'm back now. So, as I was saying, right? So keep users informed about what is happening and provide feedback on status and keep users informed about ongoing process. So the same way I added an item to cart, it showed me that I've added this item to cart, right? That's providing feedback on system status. Say you want to delete something and the platform asks you, are you sure you want to delete? Right? That's system status. If you are making a transaction and they are telling you to wait your transaction while they are processing your transaction, that's providing feedback on system status. So all those kind of messages, right? That's providing feedback on system status. So I think that's understandable. So let's move to the next the next principle, which is match between system and real world, right? So um, this implies that you have to speak the user's language, use terms and concepts familiar to users rather than system-oriented terms. So even if you don't have to use jargons, you don't have to use big English to communicate you don't have to use big grammar to communicate to make your point, right? So just speak the language that users can understand, right? Just speak the language that users can understand. Say search, right? I don't know, and that bigger word, ambiguous word for search though, but maybe there could be, right? So but you don't have to use big ambiguous words that users will have to go and bring out their dictionary to be able to understand, right? So that's one aspect of it. And now looking at cat, right? When you see this icon, your mind is already telling you that this is a cat. Like when you go to ShopRite, you go to Spar, you go to anywhere, any shopping mall to shop, you have and yeah, basically you go to any shopping mall to shop, right? You get a cat, right? And this is a shopping site. So when you see a cart, it means that you've bought something and you've put it in your cart. So this is relating real world, bringing real world scenarios into a digital product. So when you let's look at this other icon again. So looking at this icon, you can see that this icon looks like a person. So when you see an icon like this, you know that this is a person. So this thing is trying to say that this could be information about me, right? So when let's look at this other icon, you can see a question mark, right? It means a question, like question. So when you have question, when all those people that you put ask me on their, maybe you go for an event, you see ask me, right? When you see them, you know that these people they have the answers to all the questions. So you go and meet them and ask them questions. So when you come here now and you see question mark, be like, even if they did not write help here, you be like, it's like these people, this is where you can ask question. You have to go and click it and find out, right? But your mind is already telling you that this is where they ask question, right? So okay, let's also look at this. I'm trying to give as much examples as possible so you can understand this principle because they are really important when it comes to website audit and creating very usable products, right? So let's say this search. If you watch all those olden days movies, how am I going to put it? What do they even call those kind of movies again? I can't even remember. I think it's adventure movies, right? All those like Legend of the Seeker and Merlin kind of movies. They have this is it it's not microscope. What am I saying? Well, it's a magnifying glass, yeah. So they have this magnifying glass. So when they are searching for things, right? When they want to find something in a book, they usually have this big library with plenty books of magic and stuff. So when they go to those, when they want to find something, they just pick up that book, that magnifying glass, pick up the book, and then they use their magnifying glass to find things within the book, right? So because the book has a lot of information. So this that's let's bring it to this website, right? So this website has a lot of information. So but you need to find something specific. That's where you have this magnifying glass so that you can be able to find exactly what you're looking for. You can clearly see, you can easily find, let me say you can easily find what you're looking for and see what you're looking for. I hope I've been able to actually explain that. So that's what that principle is talking about, right? Match between system and real world. It's basically bringing real world scenarios into digital products. That's simply what it's trying to tell you to do. So user control and freedom. This allow users to navigate freely and provide a clear way to undo actions. Users should be able to easily recover from mistakes. Okay, let's continue using our Jumia example. Say I have added these items to my cart, right? I should be able to recover back from my mistakes because I don't want to buy Samsung Galaxy A54 5G 6.4 inches. I don't want to buy it. So I mistakenly added it to my cart. I should be able to remove it, right? I should be able to let me say, okay, this is the main only one. Anyways, so let's say I should be able to remove it, right? Let me click on remove, right? So this is principle of system status, right? It's telling me that are you sure you want to remove? Like, do I really want to remove this thing from my this? It's telling me that I'm trying to remove something. No. These different principles coming together to provide a good user experience. So if you tell me, so I go ahead and click on yes, I can want to remove it, right? This is providing me freedom to actually recover from my actions, which is I mistakenly added Samsung Galaxy A whatever whatever something something to my cart. Now I want to reverse that action. I don't want it, right? So it provided me an opportunity to actually remove that thing from my cart, which is recovering from my mistake, right? So let me say, okay, this silver crest, right? I mistakenly added two to my cart. I should be able to remove it, go back. Like, I don't want two, I just want one, right? Recovery. So say, example, I also want to maybe I mistakenly clicked on. Sorry, excuse me. Let me just take some water. Okay, so that's that for that principle, right? So consistency and standards. Now, so I'm just trying to make sure that I use examples to, to how would I put it now, to explain this as much as possible so that you all can be able to understand this properly, right? So even if you for some reason you do not remember user control and freedom, but you actually remember what user control and freedom means, it means that you can be able to apply it, right? You can explain it. So consistency and standards. Right, so consistency and standards. So follow established conventions and maintain consistency throughout the interface. Consistent design helps users to build a mental model of how the system works. Now, okay, who has a favorite website? Let me just take from the audience. Is there any website you want us to use for our examples? Let me see in the comments if anybody has any website they want us to use as examples so that we can use that. If not, we'll just continue with our Jumia website. Okay. Okay, I'm not seeing any. So let's just proceed though. Let's proceed. So consistency and standards. So can anybody tell me what you find consistent, right? What is the consistent thing you are seeing on this platform, right? On this website? Tell me, just if you can mention one or two, or yeah, just type it in the comments. I just want this class to be as engaging as possible, right? I just want the class to be as engaging as possible. So let me know, just let me know in the comments. Right, right. That's right. The color. The color is something that is consistent. Color is something, what just happened? Okay, so the color is something that is consistent everywhere, right? And you can see, let me also tell you something that is almost very difficult to notice. Look at the button, right? All the buttons are orange because they are primary action buttons, right? They are primary action buttons. So when you click on it, you're expecting an action and mostly a positive action. Assuming it's a red color, but we'll get to that. We'll get to color theory and all that. But you understand that when you click an orange button, you are expecting a positive action to happen, right? You're not expecting danger or anything, right? So and they are orange. You can even see even the remove sorry the button to increase items in your cart, they are still orange, right? But when you look at this one, it's grayed out. It's also telling you something, right? So that's consistency, right? It matters a lot when it comes to user interface design. So you have to follow established conventions and maintain consistency throughout the interface. So when it comes to following established conventions, right? So just there are things that users already used to. Why not just go ahead and use it, right? When we see this thing now, we know that it's a human being. Sorry, it's not it's just a human being somehow. But you know that you are talking about accounts, you're talking about your user's profile, right? So you can simply pick a similar icon, right, that also represents this profile, right? So instead of me to go and draw star that has hair, right, and put shoulder, when a user comes there and sees it, the person is like, ah, this star, is it a word that has shoulder? Why does it have shoulder? Like it's not easily relatable, right? So just um ensure consistency and use already established standards in your design, and basically that's it. That's what that number 4 is trying to talk about. Oops, we're already running out of time. Okay. So, error prevention, right? Design the system to minimize the occurrence of errors, provide clear guidance to prevent users from making mistakes in the first place. Okay. So, you have to, when you are designing, right? This is also similar to, I think, is visibility of system status, similar in a way, right? So you have to minimize, sorry, minimize the occurrence of errors. So just like when you want to delete your account, it shows you it gives you an error message or prompts you a message, right? A status message, and tells you that you're about to delete your account. So are you sure you want to continue to delete this account? You'll be like, yes, please, I want to continue, delete it. Or you'll be like, no, it's a mistake. You have to click no and reverse the action, right? So you have to provide those clear guidance to prevent users from making mistakes, right, in the first place. And even using buttons, maybe you can use a red button, right? So that when someone sees this in person, if the person is used to seeing green buttons for actions, the person will now come and see red button and be like if I click this red button, danger. The person will be like, what am I? The person will just be forced to go and read the text there and understand the action he or she's about to take, right? So I'm just these are like examples, right? So recognition rather than recall. You should be able to use things that users can recognize easily instead of thinking and trying to crack their brain to understand what exactly you are trying to pass across. It's like saying, okay, let me use I've used Jumia too much. Let me just go and use can I use ChatGPT? Which website will I use now? I don't know. That's if I've forgotten all the websites that I know. Okay, so recognition rather than recall, right? So you have to reduce the time users use to think about things, right? Just okay. Let me use the example on your. In fact, let me just bring it close to your normal laptop, right? So when you see this Wi-Fi icon, your mind is already telling you that when I click this, I know that this is Wi-Fi. When I click it, right? I should be able to see something related to Wi-Fi, right? So when you click it, you continue from there. But when you see a volume button, right, you know that it's speaker. Speaker is volume. And when you click on it, you know that you are sharp connecting to something that is related to sound, right? And your mind will tell you that it's volume. So all those things that your users are used to, right? There is you don't have to start changing it so that they will not start thinking too much to make decision on your platform. So the harder it is for them to think and make decision, the harder it is for them to I'm repeating the same thing. The harder it is for them to think and make decision. Like the more that they will not even want to interact with your platform again. Be like, this person they give me work. This website they give me work. I beg, they will not even come back again. So with that being said, so where was I? I think I'm at number six. Okay, yeah, I'm at number six. Flexibility and efficiency of use accommodates both novice and expert users. So you have to accommodate. It's still the same thing that we said earlier, right? You have to accommodate for both novice and expert users. Don't use big. You don't have to use ambiguous words in your mobile application. We know that you went to the highest university in this world, but just keep your application as simple as possible. As simple as possible. So because there are people that have never used a device before, right? A smart device before. So when they come on your application and they're like, I don't even understand what is going on here, right? They don't even know they cannot even read properly. So you have to also accommodate. That's where accessibility comes in. And we'll also look at accessibility much later in the course, right? So that's where accessibility also comes in. You have to accommodate this type of users in your design. So provide shortcuts and accelerate your experience for experienced users without hindering novices, right? You have to accommodate both type of users, right? But most importantly, like I said, in accessibility, when you design for people with disabilities or people with this some issues, one issue or the other, sha, you end up making the products even easier for people that are okay. Like say okay, everybody is okay, right? But I mean people that do not have disability, disability. So you make the product even easier and friendlier for everybody, right? So that's one thing you have to actually keep in mind when also designing. So aesthetic and minimalistic design, there is no need to pack um, different so many things, especially when you are starting out in design. Unless you have mastered it and you already understand how you can fix in these different beautiful things you want to bring together to create your design. But see, if you are starting out and you don't even understand it, there is no need to put so many things in your design. Just keep it as simple as possible. Go straight to the point, provide the necessary information, use the necessary aesthetics, aesthetic elements that you want to that you have to use, right? Don't put anything that is unnecessary. So okay, like it also says, it says remove unnecessary information or features that do not contribute to the user's understanding or task completion. You don't have to pack so many things in your design to make it look beautiful. Your design can still be simple and still be beautiful. Let's look at Google's design, right? Let's just open, even look at this. This is Google's website self. See how simple, like they do not even pack much information. Like it is so simple that once you come here, you know the action you want to take. Take that action and continue your journey. So let me just go to another, let me even say, let me just, well, the ones that I'm used to, right? Let me just say Google Meet. Let me just open more of their products. Like this is a world-class brand, right? Um, Google, okay, let me just open some of their platforms that I'm already used to. For some reason, this is not loading properly. Right. So, but you can see that they don't have too much things. They just bring you and take you straight to the point. Straight to the point that you don't have to be stressing your. Oops, that's not where I wanted to go to. Which websites? anyways, um, I'm not sure if it's this place that I want to come to, Sha. Okay, so this is another Google's website. Simple and straight to the point, right? You just have the information, necessary information that you're basically coming here to look for, and you are just looking at it, right? You're just looking at the necessary information. There is no need to pack so many things to actually make your design look beautiful, as long as it is minimalistic and just keep it minimal. That's just my point, right? Just keep it minimal. You can just go ahead and look at various Google's various products. They have a lot of products, right? You can just go ahead and look at each and every one of them, and you can be able to see that they don't really need to pack so much information or pack so much design to make their point. So help users recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors. So provide clear error messages that help users understand what went wrong and how to fix it. Right? Guide users in recovering from errors. So let's say, for example, right? Okay, let me just explain this well. So you have to provide clear error messages, right? And you provide help. It's not only providing error messages. So when you provide an error message, you provide help to the user to recover from that error, from that message, and help guide them to actually achieve their goal, right? So I think it's actually straightforward. So help and documentation. Offer help and documentation when needed, but strive to design interfaces that are so intuitive and usable that users don't need extensive assistance. So help and documentation, right? So you can also provide support, just like the way Jumia has it here. You provide help, right? In form of support and documentation. There could be FAQ. You can have an FAQ session telling users about one how to achieve one thing or the other, explaining one or two things to them using FAQ, right? Or you can have a recorded YouTube video of how to use your platform to guide users on how to utilize your platform, right? But in as much as you are doing that, also keep the platform as simple as possible. So you have those two things, and you can also, however, still create a document, right? If the platform is so complex, you can create a document that users can download and read and go through it and do one or two things with the documentation, but just provide an extra assistance to your users while also making the platform as simple as possible. So that's basically it for the heuristic principles, right? So okay, I've tried to make this as fast as possible. So let me just know if um so no, I didn't I didn't say FAG, I said FAQ. FAQ, frequently asked questions. It's more like a section to get response to answers, or yeah, get response to questions that you have about a product. So that's what FAQs are. So with that being said, right? With that being said, so if you're still getting value up to this point, just um leave me a comment, right? Just leave me a comment, so I know that you're actually getting value. And if you're enjoying the class so far, right, you can also leave me a comment. Just say, you can say, what would you say? You can leave an emoji or something, right? I just want to make sure that I'm carrying everybody along in this class, right? So user-centered design. So I think this is the last part of this course though. So let's just look at it together. And like I said, if you still have questions, make sure to drop it in the comments and I'll actually respond to them. So user-centered design. What is user-centered design? So simply put, is an approach that places the end user front and center of the design process, right? So as you're designing your mobile app, your website, you're thinking about the user. The user is in your mind. What is the problem of this user? Is the problem this user's problem? That's what I want to solve, right? This user's problem exactly is what I want to solve, right? So you're thinking about the user, what is the user's problem and how you intend to solve it. That's actually what is on your mind, right? So let's go through the benefits of user-centered design. So why should you even put the user in mind when designing? So enhanced one of the benefits of user-centered design is enhanced user satisfaction. So user-centered design leads to enhanced user satisfaction by understanding our users' needs. We create products that resonate with them, resulting in a positive and fulfilling experience. Like your product is going to be so sweet that anybody wants to use it. So increased accessibility and inclusivity. This accessibility that I've been hammering since. Anyways, we'll still go into it much later and discuss it properly. So increased accessibility and inclusivity. So another vital aspect of accessibility and inclusivity. When we design with the user in mind, we naturally consider diverse range of users, ensuring our products are usable by everyone, right? Ensuring your products are usable by everybody. So even if it's someone that has one hand, the person can be able to use your products. It's not necessary that the person will have one hand. Maybe someone got injured on one hand. Maybe I hit my hand on maybe on my desk or something, and I'm only using one hand to operate my phone. I should be able to actually use your platform, right? I should be able, so you the placement of your buttons and everything has to be, you have to be thinking about the people that are using this platform, right? You have to be thinking about them. So, um, improved task efficiency. User-centered design streamlines task by aligning the design with the user's mental model. We make interactions intuitive, reducing learning curve and improving task efficiency. Which is a similar thing that we talked about in even our heuristic principle. We have to make use of icons, right? Elements that people are used to. When I see an account, when I see a profile icon, I should know that it's a profile icon. When I see that, just like on this screen, when you see this heart icon, you know that you're adding to your wish list. You know that you're adding to favorites. You know you want to save something to see it later, right? You know you want to do that. So it's not, I will not come and draw box here. I'll not come and draw a square. If I draw a square here, it means that even yourself that even designed it, after some years, you come back and be like, what is this square doing here? What is this square for? You're making me think too much about the square, right? Meanwhile, you could have used this heart icon. When I come and see heart, I'll know that I'm about to add to wish list. So why go through all that stress to make life difficult for users? So just keep it simple. Use things that users are already familiar with, right? So minimize design cost. So this is another benefit of user-centered design, right? So it helps you to minimize redesign cost. So if you did not place your user um, in mind or front and center, even when you are planning out the products, you end up redesigning the products after it has been developed. It has been developed and shipped out. Everybody has started using it. You will now go to everywhere you go to. You will be seeing this app. I cannot even use it. I can't even navigate from one place to the other. All those, those comments, you will end up having to start afresh to redesign it. So, but when you plan, when you have a user in mind from the beginning of the product, right? You have sorry, you have to you reduce the cost of redesign, right? So assuming you actually, maybe you designed the app for yourself or something, or you designed it for a client, and you do not place the user in mind when designing this. You will not hand this over to the developer. After the developer finish developing the products, you find out that users cannot even use the product. The person has to pay again to actually get another design to actually, develop again. So that's expensive, right? So you just have to try to get it right the first time. So by placing your users in mind. So one of the ways we can achieve user-centered design is through a process called design thinking, right? Design thinking. So design thinking is a user-centered and iterative problem-solving approach that emphasizes empathy, ideation, and prototyping to address complex challenges. It's a creative and collaborative process that seeks to understand user needs, generate innovative ideas, and iteratively test and refine solutions, right? So it's a process that allows you to actually understand the problem of your users and create products, understand, yeah, basically empathize with your users, understand their needs, and create products that will solve their problem, right? So the design thinking process, excuse me. So there are basically 6 stages of the design thinking process, and we're going to go through them. So after that, I think that will be the last. Can see we are at, I know most of you must be tired by now. We are at 19 of 21, so you can see that we basically have like 2 or 3 slides to go. and we're done. So empathize. That's the first stage of the design thinking process, right? So what does that mean? Understand the perspective of the end users by engaging in empathy, building activity, sorry, by engaging in empathy building activities. This involves conducting interviews, which is user research, right? Observations and immersing oneself in users' experience to gain insight into their needs, challenges, and aspirations. So basically empathizing with your users is the first stage, which is carrying out user research, right? Which could be through interviews, through through surveys, right? Yeah, basically through interviews, face-to-face interviews, could be physical or could be virtual interviews. Then surveys. Basically, what you're trying to do is to carry out user research to understand the user needs and put yourself in their shoes. Right, that's what empathy actually is trying to tell you, right? And put yourself in your user's shoes and understand their problem, right? At this stage is where you carry out your user research and you draw your empathy map. We'll go into all that much later, but this is basically just an introduction, right, to these things. So you know where they originate from. You know why we are doing those things that we are doing. Even all these principles that we looked at, we are going to apply them in design because yeah, we're going to apply them in design, right? During this course. So you have to understand them. So define. So that's the second stage, right? So design thinking process. Define. Clearly articulate the problem or challenge based on the insights gained during the empathize stage, right? Define the problem in a human-centric manner to ensure that it aligns with user needs and aspirations. So defining the user's problem. That's the second stage. Here you have to prepare your problem statement, right? You have to write a problem statement that you've already found out from empathizing your activities, right? You carry that at the empathizing stage, right? So you have to use those information to actually define what problem you want to solve for the user. So after that, you have to ideate. That's the third stage, which is ideation. Generate a wide range of creative ideas to solve the defined problem. Encourage brainstorming session and explore diverse perspectives to foster innovation. Quantity is encouraged during this stage and judgment is deferred. So ideating, right? You have to, this is where you start drawing your, your paper wireframes, right? You start ideating, start looking for a way to solve the problem that you have identified, right? Start looking for ways to solve the problem that you have identified in the second stage, right? So at this stage, right, even if you're working in a team and someone brings an idea to solve this problem, don't discard the idea. Keep it in your backlog. Document document that person's idea. As it states here, there is no judgment. Don't judge anything. Brainstorm with your team. No matter how dumb the idea is, just get it and document it. You never can tell, right? So this is where you just put those ideas in a document and put them together, right? So that's the third stage. So the fourth stage is um build tangible presentations of selected ideas to test and gather feedback. Prototypes can be low fidelity or high fidelity, depending on the stage of the design process. The goal is to quickly visualize and iterate on potential solutions. I think this is basically explanatory, right? So, depending on what you want to do, right, you can either start from basically, I usually start from a paper wireframe. Right? Some people just go straight into digital wireframe, but I like to draw out first before I move it to Figma, and because I can easily clean whatever I've drawn on paper, and even though I can easily clean on Figma though, but sha, I like to start from paper. That's sketching, right? So when you sketch those things, you put them, you've already ideated with your team, right? You people have put together some ideas, then you put them in your Figma. Yeah, you just draw out those wireframes in Figma, then create a prototype to test, right? To test it with users or could be users. Yeah, test it with users to understand, to know if you're actually trying to solve that problem, right? Or some people also start with paper prototype. I know you might be thinking how that works, but yeah, it actually does, right? So some people start with that as well, right? So the whole idea, whether you go through a low fidelity prototype or you go through the paper prototype, which is also low fidelity, right? But the end goal is to actually identify if the solution that you are offering for that problem, right, is actually the ideal solution. Like it actually solve that problem. And the only way you can find out is through creating that prototype and testing it with the actual users that will use that product that you're designing. So what that's the fourth stage, right? So the fifth stage is the test. I'm going to go and talk about the test inside the prototype. But the fifth stage is the test. So when you prototyped it, so a prototype is an interactive version of your product, right? So when you design it, it's static, right? But when you make it a prototype, you can actually click the buttons and make it interactive so that users can navigate from one page to the other, right? So, but now after that, you can now test it with the user. So you test the prototype with actual users to gather feedback and insights. This step is crucial for validating assumptions, refining designs, and ensuring that the solutions effectively address user needs. The feedback loop often leads to iterative refinements, right? So when you carry out those tests, you get feedback, you go and refine, you carry out the test, get feedback, right? And also you have to be able to understand the feedback that you are getting because it's not every feedback that is feedback, sha. Understand the feedback that you're getting. And well, like I said, we also go into that is when you have a goal, when you decide the goal you want to achieve from that from your research, right? You understand the goal you want to achieve from your research, you understand what exactly you want to get out of this research, then you can be able to actually articulate and find out which feedback is actually feedback, right? But every feedback is important, but you have to analyze the feedback properly, right? Because sometimes users don't know how to solve their problem. You are the one to actually solve their problem for them, right? So you have to test, right? So after you've tested, you now iterate. Based on the feedback obtained during testing, iterate on the design by making necessary adjustments and refinements. Key emphasis on necessary, right? Adjustments and refinement. Return to earlier stages of the process if needed. Don't be scared to go back to the beginning, to the drawing board and start brainstorming again. Don't be scared to do that. If the situation requires that, then you can go ahead and do it, right? If needed, reassessing and refining problem definition, ideation, and prototyping. You can always go back to the beginning. Right? If you find out that somewhere along the line there is somewhere you missed something, don't be afraid to go back to the top and actually, figure out what to do. So I think that is the end. We've come to the end of today's class, right? It's supposed to be a 1 hour class, but it's been like 1 hour, 18 minutes, right? So we've come to the end of this class, right? So I think I would take your questions now, right? So if you have any questions, just drop it in the comments and let's discuss it. Okay, I think someone said some of you came late, but it's fine. There will be a recorded class, right? You can always come back to it. Oh, thanks for detailed explanation. You're welcome. So my goal is to make sure that you actually understand everything, right? That you're supposed to, so that at the end of this class, you can be able to, by the end of this training, you should be able to design meaningful products, right? You should be able to design meaningful products. So, okay, so I think that would be all for today, right? I can't really see any questions here. I can't really see any questions. So I think that will be all for today. I'll see you all in the next class, right? So there'll be an assignment though. So there'll be an assignment. So I'm going to drop that later on. So you have to expect that. You have to expect that. So I think that will be all. See you all in the next class. Bye for now.